So, as decided, the topic for today's session, which we picked up, was the 10 principles of soulful parenting. I would request everybody to keep themselves on the mute. That would be great. Yes. So, why did I pick this topic of, the soulful parenting? And by profession, I'm a life coach. My work gives me the opportunity to work with people on regular basis. I listen to the challenges that they are facing. You know, I give a patient listening to all that they have to share. And of course, in this all, working, there are different stratum of society I work with. तो अलग अलग लोगों से बात करते हैं, अलग अलग लोगों से मिलते हैं और उनके जीवन के जो जो मुश्किल के पल हैं उनको समझने का प्रयास करते हैं, जो जो प्रॉब्लम उनको आ रहा है उसको समझने का प्रयास करते हैं. So there are housewives, there are working people, there are business people. There, I mean, variety of people that we come across. And many a times I see that when parents come in, they have challenges with respect to their children. And some of the most common questions that I hear from parents with respect to their children are that their kids don't listen to them. This is one of the most important questions that I hear. They don't listen to them. The second thing is they are all the time glued to the gadgets, either mobile or iPhone or YouTube or watching all that stuff. And these are the two important things that I come across. And the third thing is that they are angry. They are highly temperamental in nature. So which kind of inspired me to think of this topic, because I feel each one of us look for certain guidance, each one of us look for certain ways in which we can understand our children better. Because the classical model of the parenting says that parents are the ones who are going to lead the child. Of course that is true, but at the same time we believe that parents know everything. They are the one from who are going to, of course, pave the direction for the child. But at the same time, they are not the ones who know everything. uh, that is what the soulful model believes into, because everybody is on the path of learning. But when parents come from a space of that I know everything, then what happens is the very basis of the parenting, it gets into a futile process. It doesn't serve the purpose. So uh, you know that is why I think everybody who works with children, especially the parents, the teachers, and anybody who works with children, especially, or let's say who is in interaction with children on regular basis, they must know what is the basis of parenting and what is the very purpose of parenting. Because your one interaction with the child can make or break the child. That is what we need to really understand and come from that space, so that we give best to our children. If you truly wish to experience transformation, not only just in this session that we want to kind of bring something new into our understanding, but in life per se, if we really wish to experience transformation, there is one thing which we all must begin from. And this is the basic attitude that all of us need, because uh, learning can only go through, we can survive the learning if we are able to let go of this syndrome, which we call as I know syndrome. you know I'm sure each one of you must be knowing I know syndrome. I know syndrome says, oh, I know it all. When a disciple says, "Oh, I know it all," which means he doesn't need a teacher. And when the parent says, "Oh, I know it all," that means the learning has stopped. you know so that is the very essence of "I know it all," which means there is nothing that I need to learn. And when parents begin to say that "I know it all," when they are suffering from this "I know" syndrome, it's actually that they are stopping the very learning the process of parenting can offer to them. And our children, it's not that uh, just by coincidence they are said that they are godlike. The very intelligence that they have received with themselves from this higher force is the natural intelligence, and all that we've created in the form of intelligence for us is synthetic intelligence. That's not the intelligence that we were born with. you know and it is the synthetic intelligence that makes us say "I know it." And every time, sometimes, when parents come in and they share the issues about their children, they say, "मैंने तो सब कुछ ट्राई कर लिया है, मेरे बच्चे को ये प्रॉब्लम है या मुझे उनके साथ ये प्रॉब्लम होती है और मैंने सब कुछ ट्राई कर लिया है." This is the very basis of "I know" syndrome. When you say that "I have tried everything and nothing is working," that means you have shut the door of new possibilities to open up between you and your children. So, we always say a teacher is an eternal student. Same way, a parent is an eternal learner. You can never say that my process of learning is over, because if your process of learning is over, that means either your relationship should be absolutely fabulous with the child. That means you are absolutely able to make yourself offer to the child fully, understand the child fully, and there is a great bondage that is going on within you. So only when we come out of "I know it all" syndrome, we can really see the progress happening between the relationships. So friends, I intend that the session that the energy with which you approach this session come from the space of "I don't know it." I don't know, right? Because that is the very basis of learning. Even if there are some concepts that you hearing it from the session and you see that "I know it," still say "I don't know." Because only when you say "I don't know," you are making space for something new. Every time we learn something, even the same thing we learn, we get something out of it when we come from the space of "I don't know." So I request you all to take off your, that intelligence hat, which we all are wearing, so that we approach it from the space of freshness, like a newborn child who has new eyes to see, the world with wonder. Okay. So I'm sharing with you the brain scan of 3 years old children. In the first scan that you see from the brain is the scan of a 3 years old child who is going through normal developmental stage, which means he's receiving the love of mother and father, he's getting enough hugs and kisses, he's being noticed. That is what this child is experiencing, and that's the brain scan of this child. On the other side, when you see towards the right of this normal scan, there is another scan in the blue circle, wherein the scan is of exactly the 3 years old child, but the size of the brain is shrunk. It is smaller in nature, it is shrunk in nature. And what is the environmental difference between both these children? It's basically, the one who is with the shrunk brain is experiencing the extreme neglect from the mother. Now, When I say extreme neglect from the mother, it doesn't mean that the child's mother doesn't love the child. It simply means that the mother is not able to give the quality time to the child. And what does it further mean? It simply means that, the mother was working and she had less time with the child, and whatever time she had with the child, she was not able to quality wise look at the child. And this child inside of his own self has his own, sponge like behavior, has his own way of noticing and absorbing the things. And that's what makes him feel that his mom and dad doesn't love me. Now, the child psychology says that the first 7 years of everybody's life, they are the most important years of, you know for anybody's life. These 7 years are going to lay the foundation of the rest of the life, which means, the patterns, the challenges, the limiting beliefs, the good things or not so good things that a child experiences in the first 7 years, they are going to be long term running for this child. Now, this child who is experiencing the extreme neglect, the research says when this child grows older, it is quite likely that this child will grow up with anger issues. He will have suicidal issues. He will approach everything from the space of deep abandonment, which means, what if somebody leaves me? What if somebody is not with me? That's what this child is going to be experiencing. At the same time, one of the very biggest revelations, it said that it is quite likely that this child grows up into somebody who is a criminal, right? Who is involved into some criminal practices. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that what the childhood can set for us. It can either break the things or make the things. That's what is exactly in front of you. Now, in a parent centric upbringing, a child experiences the denial of choice, thinking, creativity, expression, and emotion. Now, what does it mean? It simply means that even when we were growing, or even when the children whom we see that they are growing, they all experience one or two or multiple or all five of these denials in their life. For example, the denial of choice. What is the denial of choice? That means children, they don't really are given the choice when they are growing up. For example, uh, children are taken to a shop for shopping. Then mom picks up what she feels is going to be good for the child, and the child wants to wear something else. That's one thing. That means there is no freedom of choice. Even what toys we want to play. Let's say there is a boy child, and the boy child wants to play with dolls, and mother feels, oh, he should not play with dolls. He's a boy, he should play with cars and guns and all those boyish things. So that means the freedom of choice has been brought down. And same way in thinking, that means you're not supposed to think which is not good as per the social standards, as per the societal standards. You should always have good thoughts. Now, in our stages of development, there comes a time when every child touches the puberty, right? Every child gets to know, oh, he's a boy or she's a girl, right? At the same time, the child gets to know how the other child is different from me, which means I am a boy or the other child is, a girl. And I'm sure you must have seen children playing doctor. They try to explore their bodies in the same way, and they have such thoughts in themselves also, that you know everything is going on in their head. But at the same time, when parents or the loved ones, they stop them to think from what is not as per the society's standards, then what happens is the same thoughts begin to obsess them. They grow up into an adult who is obsessed with these sexual activities, sexual thoughts, and that, what is the repercussion of it. They don't grow up into a man whom a woman can trust, who can completely feel safe. A woman can completely feel safe in the company of that man. And the third one, the denial of creativity. There is this herd mentality that we have in the world, wherein we feel, oh, pick up the most safest and the brightest path. Don't go into something which is unconventional in nature. Don't listen to the voice of your heart, because that is not going to make you money. We believe in making our children, more of a money making machine. That because we kind of link the money with the success. We kind of link money with the good life that they can have. And at the same time, we kind of shut their creativity. I've seen many kids who are extremely good in painting, art, and singing, but since that it doesn't fetch them a bright career, which as per their parents, then they have to let go of those choices. And just some time back, I remember I met this 42 years old lady. She carries a deep grudge from her parents that they did not allow her to pick up the stream on her own. After 10th, we all pick up a stream. Either we want to get into medicals, non-medical, and the commerce. And she was forcibly given this non-medical background, and she wanted to be in arts and do something which is much more into her own energy field. But when she could not pick it up, she grew up this anger and rage and not able to forgive the parents from that space. So of course that leads to you know complete blockage in our creativity center. And then expression and emotion, we are not allowed to express the way we want to, because we feel that we need to see, is it in accordance with the world that we live in? Log kya kahenge? That's what we live with. कोई बच्चा अपनी बेसिक नेचर से, आप मैं, जब हम भी छोटे थे, हम प्लेफुल थे. दैट वाज द वेरी वेरी very nature of us. That was a god given sacred nature, that we were made playful. It's not wonder why Krishna was called playful, because he carried that essence in us, in himself. बच्चा प्लेफुल होता है तो वो सोफे पे भी कूदेगा, आप और मैं तो नहीं कूदेंगे. And that is the very basic nature. But when parents feel, नहीं, चुप करके बैठ जाओ, टिक के बैठ जाओ, उठना नहीं है, यहाँ से इधर मत जाओ, उधर मत जाओ, what happens is we are telling the child stop to explore. We are telling the child that exploration would not bring you anything. And same goes with emotion. जब हम बच्चे होते हैं, हमारे लिए लाइफ के जो सारे इमोशंस होते हैं वो बराबर होते हैं. हम कहें कि the love based emotions are felt more. It's not like that. Even the fear based emotions, let's say jealousy, anger, hatred, envy, children feel that. And when parents try to create that perfect parenting, at times they forget that parenting is not about creating a perfect structure. Parenting is more about creating a realistic structure. आप अपने घर में तो सब कुछ अच्छा कर सकते हैं जो हमें करना चाहिए, बच्चे को अच्छे संस्कार देने चाहिए, अच्छी चीज़ें करनी चाहिए, अच्छी चीज़ें बतानी चाहिए. पर जब वही बच्चा बाहर जाता है और अपने घर से बाहर के सिस्टम में एक चेंज देखता है, then the child begins to feel, they begin to have a question, what is the real, you know is it what is going on inside at home or what I see in the world. एंड इन सेम वे, जैसे हमारा एक्सप्रेशन लॉक हो जाता है, वैसे हमारे इमोशंस भी लॉक हो जाते हैं. वी फील, ओ, क्राइंग इज बैड बिकॉज इट्स अ साइन ऑफ बीइंग वीक. व्हाई एम आई क्राइंग? I should not be angry, which means I should always suppress it within, right? Because there is no other way. We feel either you take it out, and if you take it out, it's going to be too much hurting to others. And if you don't take it out, then uh, you know, आपको वो आपको वो अंदर दबाना पड़ेगा. And that's what is the very denial of the emotion. Children, they are in a normal way a total acceptance of who they are. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल एक बच्चा होता है, वो छोटा है. जैसे मैं आपको अपनी अगर कहानी बताऊं, जब मैं छोटा था, मेरा बचपन में इशू था कि मेरा रंग डार्क है, मैं काला हूं. अब हमारी फैमिली में क्या था, सब बच्चे बहुत साफ सुथरा, उनका रंग एकदम गोरा चिट्टा. तो जब कोई भी मुझसे मिलने आता था, हमारे फैमिली में आते थे, वो सब मेरी तरफ देखते थे और कहते थे ये पूरी फैमिली का हिस्सा नहीं लगता. He doesn't seem to be a part of the entire family. Now, this doesn't mean that they would say it in a wrong way. This doesn't mean that they did not love me. They absolutely love me. But the child in me will really take it seriously. I would feel that there is something wrong with me. And when I felt that there is something wrong with me, I started to become someone else. मैं किसी और को कुछ और बनने की कोशिश करा, कि जो जैसे मेरा एक कजन था who was very fair. I started to follow him. He was very smart and मैं उसी की तरह बाल बनाता था. And the fear of being dark इतना ज़्यादा था मेरे ऊपर that मैंने पहले 12 साल कोई कपड़ा नहीं पहना apart from white, क्योंकि मुझे लगता था कि थोड़ा white मेरे ऊपर चढ़ेगा तो I will look little better. But रंग अभी भी वही है. रंग नहीं बदला है. But the way I look at myself, it shifted when I started to, accept myself. Because जब बच्चों को बार बार बताया जाता, ओ तुम काले हो, तुम गोरे हो, और यू आर गुड फॉर नथिंग, तो क्या होता है, हम अपने से ही अपने आप को ही दूर कर लेते हैं. एंड these all are the basic kinds of denials that we all go through. We all struggle through this. Now, what is soulful parenting? Soulful parenting क्या करती है? Soulful parenting means which is a parenting which is not based on herd mentality. It simply means that you don't have to become a part of that rat race. You rather have to carve your own path. That's what the soulful parenting is. Because soulful का मतलब होता है coming from the space of soul. The parenting in which the gifts of the soul can be used, in someone's gift of the soul can be used, and those gifts are actually used to awaken the gifts of the soul in somebody else. That is soulful parenting, right? So it is actually the soul based learning that is created not only in the at home but also in schools. और सोल बेस्ड लर्निंग का मतलब ये होता है that every child is considered to be unique. Even if we've come from the same source, even if we are the children of the same divine mother and divine father, yet our expression on this earthly plane is chosen to be different, right? And that makes us unique. The composition of the energy that I have in me is different from the composition of energy each one of you is carrying. And my composition makes me unique. I have my own uniqueness. I have my own talents. You have your own uniqueness. You have your own talent. So, at an energy level, even if we've come from the same Brahman, but still, we are different. And when we are different, how can we be doing the same things what others are doing? So, soulful parenting works on the principle that each child is unique, and the parent's goal is to help the child to explore their uniqueness. A soulful parent will be an amazing observer to their child. This person who has actually explored the realms of the soul within, and only then you can, just by observance, explore the realms of the soul for the other. the little one also, because you know from your journey what is my uniqueness, and now I am helping the child to understand the uniqueness. And then the focus is on building the character rather than building a sound career. Of course, career is important, but career is not most important. What is most important is that you teach your child uh, how to seek happiness, how to seek real happiness. You help your child find out their real purpose, right? This is something which no school can teach, right? No school teaches you what is real happiness. And when uh, uh, the complete focus is on career, you at times let go of the character of the child, which has to be drenched in the energy of deep soul based learning, which means coming from a deeper place of sacred part in you, right? And that has to be nourished in your character. You meet all these successful people, whosoever we see that they are successful and they have done real great in their work. See that if you take their career away, what has made them successful, if you take that away, will they be alive? Of course they'll be alive. But if you take their character away, will they be able to hold their career better? They will not be. That's what the importance of soul character is, which is why every child must focus on giving the building up the right soulful character for the child, and then willingness to believe that the child knows some things we do not know, even if she is not yet able to verbalize it. So, as I said, that the innate intelligence is the gift that we've received from the divine itself, right? You know that even if the child who is not being taught for the very first 2 3 years anything, you will still see that these children are able to do well. They are able to attune to the earthly plane, understand a lot of things just by watching people, right? They don't need a lot of things to be taught. They're so quick in learning languages, right? They're extremely kind of, they absorb it so well, good learners that they are. But when the parent come from a space that I am big and the child is small and it is my duty to teach everything to the child, you are actually stopping the child to learn from the environment, right? You are actually being absorbed in your own ego, and that is not the principle. Ego self is not the principle of the soulful learning. So what is soulful learning? It is not the herd mentality. It is helping the child to find out their unique expression. It is more about building the character of the child. At the same time, knowing that I am a learning parent, right? Which means I'm always learning. Learning will never stop, because if you don't stop in your learning space, your children will show, pick up the same for their own modeling, right? You become their role models. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share how we can inculcate this soulful parenting. हम कैसे अपने लाइफ में soulful parenting को डाल सकते हैं और इन प्रिंसिपल से रह सकते हैं. तो सबसे पहला प्रिंसिपल है प्रिंसिपल ऑफ बीइंग कॉन्शियस. What does it mean by being conscious? हम कॉन्शियस हैं. सोल की वेरी नेचर क्या है? कॉन्शियस, right? Even if we feel that there are layers and layers of unconscious around it, but still we are conscious beings. Each and every thought, each and every belief that we pick it for ourselves, it begins to reflect somewhere in our life. And now, although we are born conscious, but sometimes we choose to be unconscious. And that is primarily because of our understanding of who we are, right? A soulful parenting is about first asking yourself this question, who am I? मैं कौन हूं? क्योंकि जब तक आप अपने लिए ये प्रश्न नहीं पूछोगे, आप अपने बच्चे की हेल्प नहीं कर पाओगे। एक सोलफुल पेरेंट क्या करता है, जब भी वो देखता है कि उसके बच्चे में कोई इशू, कोई चैलेंज चलता है, वो सबसे पहले ये देखता है कि मेरे भीतर ये चैलेंज कितनी इंटेंसिटी में चल रहा है। दैट इज व्हाट बीइंग कॉन्शियस मीन्स। दैट मीन्स यू आर कॉन्शियस ऑफ व्हाट यू आर फीडिंग टू द चाइल्ड, नॉट ओनली थ्रू food. Food is a very small thing, but in the form of thoughts. What is it that you're feeding to the child? That is what you have to see. और कॉन्शियस पेरेंट क्या करता है, जब भी उसका बच्चा उस चीज को फील करता है, उस चीज को वो सबसे पहले अपने भीतर चेक करके देखते हैं कि मेरे अंदर वो कितनी कितनी मात्रा में वो चीज पड़ी हुई है। जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट फ्रेंड्स। या सो every parent, they must see their parenting from the space of a mirroring, because children are basically mirrors. They mirror that aspect of you which you either disown or which you don't agree to, with any layer of yourself, any realm of your own personality that you are not aware of. Children reflect that, right? I know a long time back there was a woman who had come to us and she said कि मेरी बच्ची 12 साल की है, मुझे पता नहीं कहाँ से वो मेरे ऊपर इतना गुस्सा करती है मुझे। I really don't understand why is it like that? जबकि मैं उसका ध्यान रखती हूँ, सब कुछ करती हूँ, बहुत प्यार करती हूँ। But then when we did little bit of soul searching, some exploration within, she realized that when she was 12 years old, she carried the same anger towards her mother. She carried the exact same thing. अब बच्चा क्या कर रहा है? क्योंकि बच्चा आपकी एनर्जी से बना है, क्योंकि वो आपका बच्चा है, आपने चाहे वो कहा है या नहीं कहा है, वो होता क्या है, बच्चा उस चीज को आपके डीएनए से पिक करता है, बिकॉज योर डीएनए, योर जीन्स हैव बीन ट्रांसफर्ड टू द चाइल्ड एंड देन इट बिगिंस टू शो अप द सेम वे। सो विच इज वाई पेरेंटिंग ऐसा नहीं है कि बच्चे पैदा हो गए और वो पल जाएंगे, नहीं। इट्स अ वेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबल जॉब एंड it's a most beautiful experience when one uses it for their own evolution. And what is the way of understanding this evolution? Every time you see that there are some issues that the child is facing, or between you and the child, reflect within, see it with an inner eye, look within, that in what intensity is this issue present in me. Yeah, and then you will see a lot of other things wherein the working has to be done rather than fixing the child. And the next one is the principle of inner child. अब जैसे मैंने शुरुआत में आपको कहा कि हमारे जो बचपन होता है उसका सबसे ज्यादा प्रभाव हमें, जो एडल्ट है हम उसको बनाने में होता है। जो संस्कार हमारे, जो वैल्यूज हमारे इनर चाइल्ड बचपन में बन जाते हैं, वही हमारे एडल्टहुड तक चलते रहते हैं। तो इनर चाइल्ड में होता क्या है? जैसा मैंने कहा कि हमारे बचपन का प्रभाव है, हमारा इनर चाइल्ड वो चाइल्ड होता है जो हम पैदा हुए थे। जब हम पैदा हुए थे, वी वर द मोस्ट सेक्रेड पार्ट ऑफ आवर ओन सेल्फ। हम वो थे। पर जैसे जैसे हम बड़े होते गए, जैसे जैसे हमारे ऊपर सोसाइटल प्रेशर बढ़ता गया, जैसे जैसे पेरेंटल प्रेशर बढ़ता गया, जैसे जैसे स्कूल का प्रेशर बढ़ता गया, परफॉर्मेंस प्रेशर होता गया, तो क्या हुआ, हम अपनी उस एसेंस से दूर होते गए। जो हम सीक्रेट सेल्फ थी वो हम उससे दूर होते गए। जैसे हम जब पैदा हुए थे, वी वर प्लेफुल, वी वर इंटेलिजेंट, We were highly intuitive beings, right? And we explored everything from the space of wonder. जैसे आज मेरे पास ये मोबाइल है, हमें आज वंडरमेंट नहीं है, वी डोंट सी थिंग्स विद वंडर. आज मेरे पास लेट्स से एप्पल का बेस्ट मोबाइल है, यू नो, द टॉप मॉडल. आज मुझे उसको देख के वंडर लगेगा, पर कल क्या होगा? उससे वंडरमेंट खो जाएगी, उससे वंडरमेंट नहीं रहेगी. पर अगर आप बच्चे को देखें, बच्चे की जो एक वंडर स्पेस होती है वो इंटैक्ट रहती है. वो हर चीज में एक वाव ढूंढता है. वो एक फूल को भी देखेगा, दैट चाइल्ड विल से वाव, व्हाट इज दिस. यू नो, दैट्स द स्पेस ऑफ वंडर द चाइल्ड फील्स. उसकी इनोसेंस होती है उस यू नो उस अप्रोच में. पर हमारा वर्ल्ड क्या करता है? इट टेल्स दैट, यू नो, इफ यू आर इनोसेंट, तुम्हें लोग बेच के खा जाएंगे, यू नो. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल, पीपल विल यूज यू लाइक अ डोर मैट. They will take you for granted. So it's better that you are not innocent, you are also cunning like them, right? You grow up into that foxy nature. और इस चीज को ग्रो करते करते हम क्या करते हैं? हम अपनी ओरिजिनल सीक्रेट सेल्फ से दूर हो जाते हैं. और जब हम अपनी ओरिजिनल सीक्रेट सेल्फ से दूर हो जाते हैं, then we also lose that sacred part in us, you know, the godlike self in us. You know, Jesus said that if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must first become a child. Why did he say that? Kyunki over the period of your journey, you grow so many things on yourself. You know, you kind of wear so many masks, so many layers on yourself, that you have actually forgotten who you really were. And when you have forgotten that, you have become that dense being who cannot go into the higher realms of consciousness because you are carrying that density. Consider, you know, a balloon who is light in very nature, पर जब हम उसके नीचे एक ईंट बांध दें, वो बलून आकाश में नहीं उड़ सकता. सेम इज विद आवर बीइंग. जब आप अपनी सोल के साथ अपने सिंथेटिक चीजें बांध देते हैं, डेंसिटी बांध देते हैं, जब हम एंगर, हेट्रेड, जेलसी, नॉन फॉरगिवनेस, ये सब चीजें एक पत्थर की तरह बांध देते हैं, वी आर नॉट एबल टू फ्लाई टू द हायर realms. Then we are bounded to the earthly reality. We cannot see this earthly plane from the eyes of the soul because we've never experienced it. We don't know what is it. एंड ये क्यों हुआ? क्योंकि हमने जो बचपन में एक्सपीरियंस करा उसको अपने दिल पर लेकर कभी छोड़ा नहीं. एंड प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इनर चाइल्ड सेज दैट when a parent connects to their own inner child, which means their own loving sacred part which they were born with, they are able to connect with their biological children much 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 better. You know, हमारी एक वर्कशॉप है, इनर चाइल्ड वर्कशॉप, और मैंने उसमें फुल प्रूफ देखा है कि जब पेरेंट्स आते हैं and they begin to understand their inner child psychology, their own childhood psychology, they see a drastic shift in their relationship with their own children, right? Because they have been able to connect with the child outside. Otherwise अपने फीलिंग सेंटर से खुद कनेक्टेड नहीं है. हम बच्चे को प्यार करते हैं, पर वो प्यार जो होता है ना, वो ऐसा होता है कि वो इट इज enmeshed with lot of expectations, lot of burden of your own fulfillment of the dreams on your child. मेरा बच्चा बड़ा होके इंजीनियर बनेगा, डॉक्टर बनेगा, मैं उसे सब कुछ दूंगा. I don't say that you don't give it, you absolutely give it, but see and check that what space of love are you coming from, right? Is it coming from the space of deep expectations? Know that if there are a lot of expectations that you are building around the child, then the child whole life is going to be busy with the fulfilling of the expectations. The child won't get the time to be exploring something else. Let's be very clear about it. So if we want our children to be walking their own path, then we must first learn to connect with our own sacred part so that we help them. And rather, you know, we just bring the same acceptance, you know, for them as well. अदरवाइज जब अपने को, जैसे मैंने बचपन में क्या करता था, जब मैं शीशे में देखता था मुझे लगता था मेरा रंग काला है, और मैं इसके पीछे अपने आप को बहुत रिजेक्ट करता था। इतनी सारी चीज़ें मैंने लाइफ में करी, मुझे लगता था कि थोड़ा सा मैं प्लीज़ करूँगा, थोड़ा दूसरों की तरह बनने की कोशिश करूँगा, तो पीपल विल स्टार्ट टू नोटिस मी। बट इट नेवर हैपेंड, रादर आई ग्रीव अप एस्थमा एज अ चाइल्ड, बिकॉज सेल्फ लव बिल्कुल नहीं था। So only when I started to love myself, then I can connect with the people around the world. Otherwise, we would not be. It is going to be a synthetic connection. So principle of inner child is the most one of the most important. Rather, every principles, all the principles here are important. But that is a very foundation. That is the very base here. And the third principle, principle of parental influence. Now, ऑफ कोर्स पेरेंटल इन्फ्लुएंस होता है कि आपके बच्चे के ऊपर आपका इन्फ्लुएंस सबसे ज़्यादा है। यू आर एन एग्जाम्पलरी पर्सन फॉर योर चिल्ड्रन, बिकॉज योर चिल्ड्रन इनिशियली होता क्या है, बच्चे दे ग्रो इन एडमिरेशन ऑफ देयर पेरेंट्स, बिकॉज उनको लगता है कि दे आर माई रोल मॉडल्स। कितने दे आर कंसिडर्ड लाइक सुपर हीरोज। आई एम श्योर आपने देखा होगा, हर बच्चे के लिए अपना फादर उनको सुपर हीरो लगते हैं, क्योंकि उनको दे ग्रो अप इन एडमिरेशन। बट जैसे जैसे हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग और बढ़ती जाती है, जैसे जैसे बच्चा और किसी पापा को नोटिस करता है, किसी और चीज को नोटिस करता है, तो क्या होता है, ये सारी चीजें इकट्ठी इनमेश होने लग जाती हैं। एंड क्योंकि हम एक एक्सपेक्टिंग वर्ल्ड में रहते हैं, क्योंकि हम एक उस वर्ल्ड में रहते हैं जहाँ पे लॉट ऑफ focus is given on the feedback of others, and you're trying to be like others, then क्या होता है, the child also begins to judge the parents. तो इसी के ही फिर जो पेरेंट्स का इन्फ्लुएंस होता है, वो रोल मॉडल की बजाय जो पेरेंट्स के इश्यूज होते हैं, जैसे पेरेंट्स की अपनी लाइफ में इश्यूज चल रहे हैं, जैसे लेट्स से द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन बोथ द पेरेंट्स इज नॉट नाइस, तो क्या करता है, बच्चा उन चीज़ों को पिक करता है। And I have seen a lot of cases wherein adults who carry commitment issues, जैसे जो शादी नहीं कर पाते हैं, जो उनको लगता है कि मुझे शादी नहीं करनी because marriage is a trap. I don't say that you do marriage or you don't do marriage, but wherein you feel marriage is a trap, it is quite possible that you have seen a marriage that did not fructify. I remember this boy who had, a young man who had come to me. He had commitment issues, and he has seen his mother actually cribbing for the marriage. And when he was very small, mother and father would have a fight, and he would see that mom is saying that after marrying you, my whole life has ruined. तुमसे शादी करके मेरी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो गई। And that's what this child begins to pick up. He feels that if marriage is going to bring this up, I would rather not marry, I would rather not commit. And that is the deepest influence a child can ever have, from the parents. So, for example, uh, child feeling that the relationship between mother father is not good, that is a great influence. Child feels that either mother or father or both, they are not able to give time to the child. This has a great implication on the child. जो बच्चों को हम कहते हैं कि यू नो जिनको बच्चों को पूरा प्यार नहीं मिलता, लेट्स से अपने मम्मी पापा का प्यार का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप सारा दिन बच्चे को गोदी में लेके बैठे रहो, नॉट लाइक दैट. It simply means that the child is not being noticed, in its beauty, in his or her beauty, right? It simply means that you are not qualitatively present with the child. For example, you are with the child and you're busy on your WhatsApp, you're busy on your laptop, and the child is, kind of saying something to you. The child is not being noticed. It has a great influence on the child. And so all these issues like rejection, abandonment, the child begins to experience from the relationship what the parents have been experiencing and how they treat the child. And when that treatment is not nice, the child begins to, you know, when it grows up with that lack. It grows up with the lack of love. और जिस इंसान में लव पूरा होता नहीं है, जिसको एक्सपीरियंस नहीं होता, फिर वो क्या करता है, वो दूसरे रिलेशनशिप्स में जाता है पर अपने लिए प्यार ढूंढने के लिए। गलत नहीं है, प्यार लेना चाहिए रिलेशनशिप में, पर यू आर नॉट एंटरिंग इनटू एनी रिलेशनशिप टू गेट लव। यू एंटर इनटू अ रिलेशनशिप टू गिव लव, रादर शेयर लव, राइट? सो अगर हम किसी के ऊपर अपना रिचार्ज करने के लिए बैठे रहेंगे, know that one fine day that person is also going to heads up. That person will say, I am not going to do, because the person feels you know that it's too much, because it's a burden on the child, it's a burden on the other person. So where are the roots? The roots are actually in your relationship with your mother, father. Another aspect of the parental influence, which we have to see, the parents' relationship with their parents, because it's a chain, right? How is parents' relationship with their own parents? That's a chain. You you don't share a good relationship with your mother, father, and you expect your child to be sharing, to be treating you as the divine mother, father. It's not going to happen, because there is a dimension of your own self which you haven't healed with respect to your parents. So if you expect from your children that they grow up like Balak Dhruv, you first have to grow up like the mother of Balak Dhruv, mother and father of Balak Dhruv. Until then, you cannot, right? You must grow up, uh, the best पेरेंट्स फर्स्ट फॉर योर सेल्फ। और उसकी शुरुआत कहाँ होगी? जब आप अपने पेरेंट्स से अपना रिश्ता सुधारेंगे, अपने पेरेंट्स को पूरा दिल से स्वीकार करेंगे। And the fourth one is principle of differentiation. What does it mean, principle of differentiation? Principle of differentiation means that, let's say, as a parent, that as a parent, my emotions, my feelings are different from what my child can feel. Most of the times what happens is parents are too much identified with their own emotions, their own feelings. That becomes a set perspective to look at life. Now what happens is, whensoever their child tries to look outside of that perspective, they get triggered. And when they get triggered, they kind of start to fix the child, because they feel that there is something wrong with the child. The child's very nature is to trust, right? The child's very nature is to not fear anything. The child's nature is to explore everything, because that is how nature has made each one of us, right? But when parents approach the child from the space of fear, जैसे बहुत सारी होता है कि mothers are like, they are so possessive about their children that they don't even leave the children with somebody, right? Even a loved one, right? Because I remember there is a case that I can speak to you about. This woman carried an issue with being too possessive to the child, because जब उसका छोटा इन्फेंट थी, उसकी डॉटर, वो जब अपनी बहुत डिपेंडेंट स्टेजेस में थी, बहुत छोटी थी, शी वुड नॉट लीव द चाइल्ड विद एनी लव्ड वन। और हुआ क्या था कि अब उसके हस्बैंड मुझे कहते थे कि शी शुड रियली लेट दिस, इस पे से थोड़ा बाहर आए, बिकॉज शी इज टू मच फिक्सेटेड ऑन दैट। कल जब बच्चा बड़ा होगा, बाहर जाएगा, किसी से बात करेगा, हाउ इज शी गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड द होल थिंग? सो इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी इजी। सो this woman got ready to explore, that why is she so possessive, and why does she always wanting to be making her child feel protected and safe? This mother in her childhood had experienced a sexual abuse, a bad touch. And when she experienced that bad touch, the very first thing she had was that mama papa is not around me, like they cannot protect me. When she grew up, everything happened, and but this memory always stayed with her, right? She could not connect the dots, but only when we did little bit of soul searching, she realized that how her own emotions, her own way of looking at things has influenced the way she parented her own child now, right? So that is why everything that we pass to the child first, we must first turn to look within and see that is it coming from a limiting belief within me. For example, if I say to this child that be careful when you go outside, what space is it coming from? Is it coming from a space of deep care, or is it coming from that somebody might harm? So that is why be careful. So you must see that is it grown in the space of loving thoughts or the fearful thoughts? And when you do that, when it is engraved in the fearful feelings, know that when the energy is of fear, it is going to manifest somewhere outside, it is going to come up. So differentiation tells us that it is okay for the child to have something different than mine. It's okay if the child, I feel calm, my child feels angry, right? It's all right, because only then we'll be able to see it from a different perspective, which is a healthy perspective, right? Accepting perspective. Otherwise we are fixated, oh, I am grown the best, or I am the best, my way is the best. That also stops our learning. And the next principle is principle of fullness and respect. The sacred self says that when we all grew, we all were made full. We are, when we have come from that param shakti, हम उस परम शक्ति से आए हैं, पर ब्रह्म से आए हैं जो पूर्ण है, तो हम भी पूर्ण ही है. Our shastra says this mantra, the Shanti mantra, that says Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevava Shishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What does it mean? It says that here is full and there is full. And when full is taken from the full, what is left is full. That means यहाँ भी पूर्ण है, वहां भी पूर्ण है, और पूर्ण से जब पूर्ण लिया जाता है तो बचता क्या है? पूर्ण. When we have grown from that full space, then how can we be less? We cannot be less. बट जैसे हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग होती है, जैसे हमारे एक्सपीरियंसेस होते हैं, हमें एक्सपीरियंस कराया जाता है दैट यू आर लेस. वी आर टोल्ड दैट ओ यू आर नॉट गुड फॉर नथिंग, यू आर नॉट गुड, you look this way. Oh, if your academics is not good, you are good for nothing. Nalayak ho tum, right? And if you can't do this, you are not good for anything, right? All these things are kind of the shackles that we are into. We are trapped into this cage, and we begin to feel, oh, I am incomplete, I'm not full. So principle of parenting in this says, the principle of fullness is that child is always seen from the space of fullness, that the child is full, right? The child is coming from that परम शक्ति. और ये केवल वही पेरेंट्स कर सकते हैं जिनको अपने अंदर परम शक्ति लगती है, जिनको अपने अंदर फुलनेस महसूस होती है. अगर अपने भीतर फुलनेस महसूस नहीं होगी, आप अपने बच्चे को ट्रांसपायर नहीं कर पाएंगे. शायद ये बता पाएंगे पर रियलाइज नहीं करवा पाएंगे. अंडरस्टैंडिंग और रियलाइजेशन में अंतर होता है. अंडरस्टैंडिंग होता है कि आप एक वे से उसको समझ सकते हैं. जैसे आज का लेसन, आज जो हम कर रहे हैं, दैट इज एट एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेवल. But if you want to create a realization, you must learn to sit with it. That we call as darshana. You have to sit with your own darshan, grow your own perspective on it. And only parents who have grown a perspective of darshana within, perspective of fullness within, then they are able to see that space in the child. And the principle of respect, the respect that says when the child is full, the child must be seen with deep respect, right? That child must be seen a separate entity than parents, right? बहुत सारे डिसीजंस पेरेंट्स लेते हैं, अच्छी बात है, आप अपने बच्चे के डिसीजंस लेते हैं, but it doesn't mean that you have to not let the child have a space for its own self, have a choice for its own self. So principle of fullness and respect means the child is full and the child is respected for who he or she is and who he or she wishes to grow up as. That's what the principle of fullness is. And the next principle says principle of suggestion. What is this principle of suggestion? Principle of suggestion means that whensoever we connect with the child, we are not coming from the space of creating rules for the child. Because if you come from the space of setting rules for the child, you are more of growing, like soldiers, an army person who gives the command and the soldiers follow the command. Then what happens is these soldiers will feel one fine day that it is too much of commanding now. Since they are small, initially they might not retaliate, but when they grow up, that whole thing comes out. It moves out, and then it kind of bursts like a volcano. Just to give you an example, you know many of us, we talk about Hitler, right? We say Hitler was bad and we see what did he do to the consciousness of Germany. But have we ever thought what made Hitler who he was? Have we ever seen in his childhood? We've never seen that. So he was kind of a child.
आप एक मिनट अपने फोन से ही कर लीजिए क्योंकि मेरे इस पे कॉल चल रही है तो मैं इस पे कर नहीं पाऊंगी.
I request everybody to please mute themselves. Yes. So who Hitler shared a very sad relationship with his father. Rather his father. His father would overly dominate him, become that authority figure to pin him down and will beat him, drive him up the wall, everything that he experienced. And since he was a child, he could not resist. He could not defend himself. But when he grew, he threw all that suppressed anger on people around. And you know what happened then, right? So such is the repercussion of everything being posted in the form of rules to the children. uh, Give suggestions, and you can give suggestions in such a way wherein children will definitely listen to it, right? You don't need rules. Of course you can be assertive, and that way we can really help the child to use their own power, use their own choice, power of their own choice, and reach to a decision. जैसे बच्चे के नंबर कम आए, क्लास में कम आए, और इमीडिएटली जब मम्मी को पता चला, मम्मी शी काइंड ऑफ बम्बार्ड्स ऑन द चाइल्ड. मैंने आपको कहा था तुम पढ़ते नहीं हो, तुम ये नहीं करते हो, तुम वो नहीं करते हो, तुम सारा दिन ये करते रहते हो, यू आर बिजी विद दिस, यू बिजी विद दैट, ऑल दिस दैट यू से टू द चाइल्ड. बच्चे को कहीं ना कहीं पता है कि उसके नंबर अच्छे नहीं आए हैं, and the child knows that he did not do well. In those moments, child doesn't need all those rules and reminding that I am right and you are wrong. In those moments, child actually needs somebody to hold them closer to the heart. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप उसको प्रोत्साहन दे रहे हो नंबर कमाने पे, पर उस वक्त सही गलत कुछ नहीं है. That very moment the child knows love. Child wants to experience love. Because if in those moments you're going to be chiding the child, know that you are kind of closing the door of bonding with the child. The child will begins to feel that there is a condition of love that is happening between me and my mother. there is a condition, and that condition is, come what may, I should always score well. I should always be good at academics. Now, all children are not good at academics. तो उस सिचुएशन में क्या करना चाहिए? उस सिचुएशन में ये है कि जब एक आधे दिन में बच्चा ठीक हो जाए, then we have a healthy conversation with the child. We ask the child that, oh, this is the marks that you have got. Now, instead of giving all the rules, we say the child, we encourage the child and we say, what do you think we should be doing now? What do you think? And don't say, what do you think you should be doing? Say, what do you think we should be doing? Right? And when you say, what do you think you should be doing, or we should be doing, you will notice the child has all the answers. And trust me, more than, your rules being given to adhere for the child, whatever he gets from inside, he'll be able to give his best to it more than, your rules, because it has come from the deeper wisdom within. That's why hold a space wherein the suggestions are being explored, wherein you are exploring the inner realm of the child rather than being too bossy over the child. Help the child to reach to the inner wisdom. Okay, when the child says, okay, this is how am I going to study, then help the child make the timetable, help him to have more clarity on it, and then just looking onto that the child is following it. If it doesn't happen, then we try to help the child further explore it, right? But that is how it is going to happen. We feel that, oh, I can save the child from making mistakes. Of course we can, but at the same time we must know that it is okay to make mistakes, because we all have grown like that. And the next principle of validation. Now, what does validation means? Validation means acknowledging and understanding what child is experiencing. Most of the times what happens is, first, we don't have a listening skill. We feel it's too much for us to be listening to what the child is saying. We first grow rapt attention to the child. We must first experience giving deep listening skills to the child. In each child, you, I, when we were children, everybody goes through these three important questions in their life. The first question that each one of us face in our journey, जो पहले 10 साल में ही, 7-8 साल में ही हम एक्सपीरियंस कर लेते हैं अपनी जर्नी के, अपनी लाइफ के, सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन जो बच्चा एक्सपीरियंस करता है, am I being noticed? That is the first question that the child has within it. Am I being noticed? और वो कहाँ से नोटिस होना चाहता है? अपने मम्मी से, अपने पापा से, अपने दादी से, अपने दादा से, नाना से, नानी से, अपने लव्ड वन से, केयर गिवर से नोटिस्ड होना चाहता है. तो इसीलिए बच्चा क्या करता है? बच्चा आपको रोक रोक के अपनी बात बताने की कोशिश करता है, बिकॉज द चाइल्ड्स इंटेंशन इज, प्लीज नोटिस मी, प्लीज लुक एट मी, राइट? And that's what the child wants to do. But when the child is not being looked at properly, when the child is not validated for its experiences, for what he or she feels, then what happens is the same child grows up into someone who is still seeking attention from others. These children, they grow up the attention seeking people, right? That is the very first thing that the child experiences. The second thing the child experiences is that, am I loved? Right? That's what the child feels. If the child doesn't experience the love of the parent, then he grows up hungry of love. Or us hungry may, when they become that, that self who hasn't received love, they grow up, an adult who is seeking love from others, always seeking either the love of mother from anyone, love of the father, because they did not receive it. The third thing that the child or you or I that we experienced in our childhood was, how am I treated in my troop or in my group? Now, group or troop means in my friend circle. Am I being noticed there? I have seen, especially in teenagers, बच्चे अपने मम्मी पापा से क्यों लड़ते हैं? बिकॉज मम्मी पापा उनके फ्रेंड्स को बड़ा बुरा कहते हैं. दे से कल इससे बात मत करना, ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये ऐसा है, ये वैसा है. दैट इज वॉट पेरेंट्स आर बिजी इन टू. बट वेन चाइल्ड फील्स, यू नो, you're talking because आप मम्मी पापा तो हैं, बट चाइल्ड का मेन ग्रुप है, वो है उसका ग्रुप, वो है उसका इस चाइल्डहुड के फ्रेंड्स, जो है उसका फ्रेंड सर्कल, चाहे वो बैड कंपनी है, गुड कंपनी है, अच्छा है, बुरा है, जैसा भी है, बट दैट इज व्हाट द कंपनी ऑफ द चाइल्ड इज. एंड व्हेन यू बिगिन टू क्वेश्चन दैट, द चाइल्ड फील्स, यू नो, एजिटेटेड, द चाइल्ड फील्स इरिटेटेड. और ये एक मेन रीजन मैंने देखा है कि जिसके कारण एक टीनेजर और पेरेंट्स की लड़ाई होती रहती, बिकॉज first they are not able to validate, they are not able to understand and acknowledge the aspect of the child, that the child has chosen the friends, could be anything, but that is the very important thing, you know. So कोई हमें अगर कहे कि you know आप छोड़ो अपने मम्मी पापा को, या जिस फैमिली में आप रहते हो आप उनको छोड़ के अलग हो जाओ, हम रह पाएंगे? तो बच्चों के लिए भी उनके जो फ्रेंड्स होते हैं, दे आर लाइक अनदर फैमिली आउटसाइड ऑफ देयर फैमिली. So it's very very unfair for us to be telling it to the children that don't be with such and such friends, right? You can always help them reach to a proper conclusion into that, but don't be too bossy and, you know, being upfront into that. हमें ये भी नहीं पता कि फॉर एग्जांपल जो बैड कंपनी में जिनको हम बैड कर रहे हैं उनका भी तो वुंडेड होगा इनर चाइल्ड. So we need to understand there are so many dynamics that are involved here. Okay. And the next principle is principle of engagement. Principle of engagement says that don't be the one who, you know, assigns or delegates the tasks to the child. Engage with the child, right? Don't be the one. ये कोई सीनियर जूनियर बॉस और सबॉर्डिनेट का रिलेशनशिप नहीं है, that you tell the child, oh, paint, oh, do this, do that. No, you need to engage. That's why, you know, instead of saying what you should be doing, say what we should be doing. Engage the child in the decision making process, uh, which is according to the child's, you know, level. We ask, you just can't say to the child that what insurance policy or what we should be doing. No, it's about asking questions, engaging the child into the decision making which is according to his level. We should always engage the child, and having healthy tea time discussions, sitting with the child with that teapot and, you know, all those छोटा छोटा जो घर का हम सामान खेलते थे, all those healthy discussions that we create, creating such moments wherein child feels engaged rather than being asked to engage by its own self, right? So that is what is needed. We engage with the child. And the ninth one is principle of trust. Principle of trust says that come what may, whatever happens in life, whether your child becomes an IAS officer or whether your child is not even a 10th grader, whether your child earns crores and crores of rupees in a month, whether your child doesn't even have an employment, whether your child is a sage, whether your child is a sinner, come what may, whatever happens, don't close the door of the child trusting you. Always have this door open. Your child must know that whatever happens, whatever I do, whatever crime I do in my life, I can always go to my parents and speak about it. When, you know, when this door of trust being closed, When we were children, जब हम छोटे होते हैं, हम जब स्कूल में पढ़ के आते थे, किंडरगार्टन स्कूल में, हम क्या करते थे? आके सारा कुछ मम्मी के इर्द गिर्द घूम घूम के मम्मा को बताते थे। मैंने आज ये सीखा, मैंने ये खाया, मुझे टीचर ने ये दिया, मैंने ये डांस करा, ऑल दैट थिंग। बट जैसे जैसे हम बड़े होते गए, फिर पेरेंट्स हमारे आसपास घूमते हैं टू आस्क व्हाट हैपेंड, कितना क्लास में नंबर आए, टेस्ट हुआ, ये हुआ, वो हुआ। बिकॉज वो इंटरेक्शन जो होती है ना, इट इज टू इंटेरोगेटिंग इन नेचर। इट्स लाइक यू आर काइंड ऑफ creating that inquiry on the child, and the child feels that I need to project the best image possible, because if I don't give the best image, the mother father will start with their ज्ञान, जो उनके पास ज्ञान है वो सब कुछ लेके मेरे पीछे पड़ जाएंगे. So that's what the child doesn't want to be in. So that is why I'm saying, always remember to say these words to the child. Tell often to your child, I believe in you. I have trust in you. Because when we say these things, it is also keeping the door open that you can also trust me. And you can also, along with this, we can always say, if you need anything, please let me know. I'm here for you. I'm there for you always. Do say that. It's quite possible that there could be some things the child doesn't want to share with you. Don't be too nagging into that, but we can just simply close the conversation saying that whensoever you want to discuss with me anything, I'm always there for you. I will listen to you with all my love. This way we can keep this foundation of trust intact, right? And that's the very crucial aspect, to have a strong bonding between the father, the mother, the child. Yeah. And the last principle of appreciation, right? Appreciate the child, right? In whatever capacities it is, and make the appreciation realistic in nature. Don't cook up an appreciation. Don't try to create an appreciation which is synthetic or kind of artificial in nature. It has to be genuine appreciation, right? For example, if a child has not done a nice painting, you just can't say it's a nice painting. But even in that scribbling that the child has done, you can still pick up something which is immensely beautiful. So pick up the realistic aspect of appreciation. For example, if my mother will, in the childhood, if she begins to appreciate, oh, you are very fair, I will say, mom and dad, they don't know anything, because they're not real, because it doesn't match to what the world is saying or what my friends are saying, let's say. So keep the appreciation real. When it is real, when it is coming from a space of deeper truth, the child will absorb it. And this also encourages the child to see beauty in everything, right? This encourages the child to see goodness in something which cannot be seen at an outer layer, right? So that's what the principle of appreciation is. So I think this is what I had to share with all of you. I can just read some of your comments. If you have any questions right now, please feel free to ask, and I will try to answer you. Whom does the child mirror, father or mother, and how to distinguish it is a father or mother? So, Shankarji, it's not that it's just one of those, either father or the child can have mirroring from both. And in soulful parenting, both must make the effort to look within. Both the parents, they in their own individual spaces turn within, look within to see that how this aspect is being played in their own self and in what intensity. Okay, that's what is being asked. So, friends, if you have any question, you can either write in the comment section or.
Hitesh, I have just one. I missed out on one of the points.
Yeah.
Principle of validation. You mentioned about, am I being noticed? The second one I missed out.
Am I being noticed? Am I being loved?
Okay.
Right. The third one is, am I being noticed in my group? Right.
Yeah, that is.
How is my group treating me? Right. That's the third one.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Hitesh, with your permission, could I ask you one thing?
Ji, please.
Hitesh, how does one actually go about disciplining a child? I'm not talking of dominating a child. I'm talking of disciplining a child. Disciplining is a very important component.
Right, right.
Them to have a proper timetable, or for them to pay attention to certain things, for example, there's a playing class, the kid is watching TV at that time instead of doing studies, you're doing something. It's a more of indiscipline, and children are like that. So how do you bring that element of discipline? And
right.
how do you handle punishment? Should there be punishments or not? So I would appreciate your thoughts on this.
Yeah, right. So first of all, as I said, in the soulful parenting, if the child is facing issues with the discipline and you see that the child is struggling there, you first check with him that at what level this issue is present in me. Right? You check it from that space. Am I approaching life or leading life from the space of discipline? Right? I see from that space. And when you see that, yes, you are able to, let's say, if there are some areas which you think that you should be improving on, you can always do that. And then try to, communicate with the child in the same way. And how can we do that? Instead of coming from the space of telling the child that do this, do that, this is the timetable. Understand what is stopping the child to not follow the discipline. Let's say आपके बच्चे ने एक टाइम टेबल बनाया, try to understand the root cause कि मेरे बच्चे ने ये इशू, अगर ये इशू फॉलो हो रहा है तो what is the probable reason of it. जैसे आप अपने बच्चे से इंटरैक्ट करते हो and you say, beta, you did not, I can see that you were not able to go with the discipline. Would you like to share with me what stopped you to not follow it? Right? We initiate the conversation from them, from that space, rather than getting into कि तुम ये नहीं करा, तुमने वो नहीं करा. Don't be into. We have to get them into the energy of discussion. Yeah, we have to get them into the energy wherein the child is able to share the root cause. Yeah, so I think that is what I had to share, Shankarji. Always approach from the space wherein we come from a space of healthy discussion with the child, rather than just giving the rules. So I think principle of suggestibility will really help you to wherein we give the suggestions, right? And our intent is genuinely to help the child, rather than trying to bring him into the ambit of discipline. Discipline will come naturally when we are able to address the issue of the child. That's what we should focus on.
Thank you, Hitesh. And about the punishment, Hitesh, should we have some kind of a punishment system?
Yeah. So we don't need to have, the way wherein we say that there is a punishment. Before that, another thing which I wanted to ask, which, for example, the child is having issues with the discipline. Let's say बच्चा बहुत ज़्यादा mobile करता है. You always have a goal being set that you are going to do it for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and keep the child oriented to the whole thing, that it's going to be for 15 minutes, it's going to be for 10 minutes or whatever, and we would follow it. That is what we can do in the first space. Second space is, जैसे आप कहते हो कि punishment, it's not about punishing the child. You can, one approach which I have seen, which many schools also do, they give the child a silent time to self-introspect. Right? They tell the child that go in your silent space, introspect in your own way. Right? That can be something which we can, pick up, not the negative reinforcement, because punishment is something which harms the child inside rather than just at an outer level, right? So we need to be just careful. So we can create such moments wherein you go into your own room, sit there quietly, and then we go to the child and we get into understanding the child aspect, and that's what we can create, so not the punishment.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Hello, sir. I want to ask a question, sir.
Ji, please.
So, I have a 4 years boy. He is very hyperactive at home, and due to this lockdown, there are online classes twice a week. He doesn't want to sit and do the class. And whenever we tell him something, he will scream at us. He will smile. He throws things also. If we tell him to switch off the TV after half an hour, he will throw the remote, or he will show his tantrum, sir. So, how to deal with these kinds of kids, sir?
Right, yes. So first of all, Shraddha ji, what you have to see is that आप जब बचपन में थे, did you or your husband was hyperactive? आपको ये देखने का जरूरत है. अगर वो था, तो सबसे पहले आपको ये इशू अपने अंदर एड्रेस करना है. You need to be, let's say, get into the practice of meditation and doing something which really calms you down, and approach everything from the space of calmness and peace. Second thing is, हर बच्चा जब इस एज ग्रुप में होता है, स्पेशली जो आपने बोला है, there is big gush of energy the child has, and it is something which cannot be it is unparalleled in nature, because the child is carrying that in itself. So आप इसको churn करने का एक तरीका निकाल सकते हो, जैसे for example, get into the games which are highly physical in nature. जैसे for example, engage the child in clay work, मिट्टी के साथ खेलना. That is really, एक तो वो physical activity होता है, और ऊपर से होता क्या है, there is lot of churning for the child which is happening through that, and it kind of pressures the pressure points for the child, so it really helps the child to calm down. So bring out the activities which can be more physical in nature.